it is the month of mental awareness, and mental illness is on the increase in Uganda. Recently, you've heard of the shootings that have been happening in Uganda here, just here in Kampala. Shootings have been happening, but what is causing this? I'm joined by Tashobya Suzan, and she's going to tell us when and how we can get mental health care here in Uganda. Susan, recently things have been happening, and the main cause of these shootings, of these killings, is suicide, because Ugandans are having issues mentally. Poverty is one of them. And now you tell me, how can you tell someone who is poor, who doesn't have what to feed on and what to feed their family? How can you advise such a person to embrace the mental health care?
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. It's a very important conversation in our country today, given the timings. Once again, my name is Suzan Tashobya. I'm a counseling psychologist, and we do provide psychosocial support to persons like you and I who may be going through different challenges of life and are stressed and are overwhelmed by the situations. And they are tending to get into a place where they cannot control themselves or control their emotions, so that they are able to maintain them and do not act irrationally. Well, like you mentioned, there's a lot that is going on in our country today, and mental health has been a silent issue, but yet a very important issue in our country. In the recent past, it was very hard for us to understand what mental health is, and would see people who are mentally challenged, people would tag them to be maybe bewitched, uh, to be mad, but the madness that has no definition. But when we look at mental health and why has it become a problem today, it has been there with us. We have had it. If you look at the way we define what mental health is, we look at mental health as a state of well-being where an individual is able to manage their normal stresses of life, be able to utilize their full potential, be productive, and contribute positively to their society. Now, from that definition, it tells us that everyone has some levels of stress, not mad, some levels of stress. You have some levels of stress. I do have some levels of stress. For example, as you invited me to give this conversation, to participate in the conversation, it's my first time to have an interview, a long interview like this. And, I had to prepare for it. I was nervous. I was on tension. What are they going to ask me? How am I going to appear? As I prepared, there's some stress that came with it. But that's a normal situation, which we say normal stress. But if after this interview, I continue feeling nervous, I continue feeling uh, fearful about this whole experience, then there's a problem. So all of us have that level of stress that is normal. But we are saying if it goes beyond the normal, where you find someone is stressed all the time, you're not happy even when you present yourself to be okay. We have seen many people in our society today, they are posting pictures, they're at the beach, they are happy, and then tomorrow another post comes, she has committed suicide. Why? Because she could, or he could have been going through some challenges that caused that pressure or stress onto themselves, and then eventually they fail to control. So we are saying in this month of awareness, we are trying to help the masses to understand how mental health affects their well-being, their lives, and the lives of the people around them. Because you might be mentally fine, but maybe your children are not okay, and that poses your mental health to be at stake. But also, if you manage to contain yourself and manage that stress that comes with whatever challenges, what about the people you take care of that could be the ones going through the similar, you know, mental health challenges? You yourself, you need to be mentally stable, because if you do not know how to manage, then you'll find their challenges overwhelming you, and you also become sick or mentally challenged, as, a, as opposed to what should be the real case.
Susan, where can ordinary Ugandans access these facilities? Because they seem to be expensive to an ordinary Ugandan who is struggling with poverty, and where can they get cheap facilities of mental health care?
Well, it also depends on the facility where you go, because I'll be very honest, there's nothing that regulates the practitioners on saying this is the cost of therapy. But as you ask around, people will always lead you to the right place. So if people are challenged, the best thing is to just walk into a health facility and inquire whether these services are there. And what is very good is that some of these services are very free in the facilities, but because people are not aware of them, people are not aware of where they can access the services from. People are not aware that they are being challenged mentally. Others live in denial. When you tell someone, I think you need to talk to someone, they'll tell you, no, I'm okay.
I know it is confidential to keep some of the information of the patients that you receive. Some of the patients, like what category of people have you so far like received? Are they business people, work, office people? Like what category of people like do really need these services, and the ones that you've actually encountered?
Um, all of us need these services. But as rapport, we are focusing mainly on the workplace uh, people, because we do provide what we call employee assistance program, which is a mental health support for employees, particularly in organizations or companies. But when we come back to your question, everyone needs the services. Right now, it is open to the public uh, because we are trying to create awareness, and we have been receiving all sorts of people. For instance, with the ongoing camp, we have received people who are not necessarily our clients, who are, for example, the staff of parliament, but we have received MPs, we have received drivers, security personnel, and today being an open day for the Parliamentary Forum camp on mental health awareness, we have received all categories of people from the public walking in to get services or to find out more about mental health. Yeah.
Yeah, Susan, with the levels, with the high levels of poverty in Uganda, and poverty being one of the factors that actually lead to these mental health issues, how would you advise Ugandans like who are in that state, because they really need that kind of information? They need to be counseled. Actually, you're going to ask a Ugandan, someone who is in that kind of state, who is poor, that you really need this mental health. They will think that you're mad, because right now what I need is money, not those services.
Okay. Yeah, that is a very big challenge. Yesterday, actually, I had something on my status on the phone, and some person reached out and said, "My problem is money. Can you please give me some money?" Well, I know poverty is one of the reasons, one of the risk factors that causing mental health issues, illnesses to be on a rise. But let's look at poverty. What creates poverty? It starts with you as an individual to look back and see where you are standing. What have you been able to do for yourself? We have people dying of poverty, but some of them are not working, have not taken the initiative. Let's look at the people back home or even in our neighborhood. You find young able-bodied persons, instead of waking up and going to do something that is productive, they wake up going to a nearby shop to either take drugs, to take any substances. They are thinking about going to rob. And you imagine if I decided to stay back home, for example, if Kampala is difficult, you back home, there's so much you can do. Look at what you have at home. Where can you start from? But people have a mentality of not working, not wanting to work. And of course, the times have become so tough that poverty is continuing to become a vicious circle. Everywhere you go, everyone is living in poverty, everyone is talking about poverty. People are blaming it on the government, but what are you doing for yourself as an individual? Do you have a plot back home? What can you do with your plot of land back home? Can you plant beans? Can you plant sweet potatoes? And take them and set up a stall.
Yeah, before we wrap this up, could you please assure our viewers that actually these services are they are not that expensive because what we know as Ugandans that when you see something like that, mental health, here what go and talk to a psychiatrist, that is a lot of money. I have to pay money for this and then I pay that money for that. Could you please assure our viewers that actually these services are there and they are free, or some are not that expensive?
Okay. Yeah, true. The services are there. Um, they may be expensive. Other people may, because it depends on the practitioners. Some are expensive, others are free. I want to tell the public that these services are available. In some facilities, they are free, but people don't go for them. Okay? And because people do not know what it entails, people are lost. When I talk to you and you tell me, oh, I went to see a counselor and they charged me, say, 100,000, I ran away. We are flexible, especially at Rapport, if I may use that facility where I work. Our purpose is to help people who are mentally challenged. Sometimes we get clients and they are in distress, they need help, but they don't have money. But as practitioners who are passionate about helping people, about their challenges with mental illnesses, we've been able to extend free services to them. For example, during this whole camp, this whole month, we've been camped here at Parliament. We are not charging anyone any coin. So we want to encourage the public, before you fear to go and seek help, try and go to the facility, get the information, and then you see how you can go about it. You may be having little money like 10,000. You need to have that bargaining power and talk to the practitioner. This is what I have.
And lastly, from us, um, the speaker just mentioned that they have increased the budget for mental health. Uh, they have put medicine facilities. We have Ugandans who abuse these drugs because when someone is depressed and then the doctors recommend certain medicines for them, and then they become addicted to such medicines. How would you advise such a person?
Um, I want to advise the public that these medications are good for their health, but if they are not used correctly, it is dangerous to their health as well. So once you are in that place of situation where you need to use the medication, there's what we call adherence. Adhere to the medication that has been given to you, take it correctly, Because if you don't, first of all, it is going to affect your health, and you become resistant to this medication, and that means it will not work. And that's where we have seen people abusing the drugs like you've mentioned, and taking overdose and also being addicted, and you find that it no longer helps them, but it works on the contrary. And without this medication, this person cannot do what? Cannot survive. So we want to tell the public that whenever you're given the medication, take it as prescribed by the practitioner, adhere accordingly, and your purpose should be to actually get well and stop using the medication as guided by the practitioner.
Thank you so much, Susan. As far as mental health is concerned, all of us need these facilities. Help is available everywhere. You can get it. Thank you so much.